Well, I just used to look in the mirror and I was just down. I really didn't like what I saw. I couldn't smile. Honestly speaking, I just used to look there and wanted to cry, really. It was a really horrible moment for me, waking up in the morning and just having to look at myself and think, that's who I am, really. I couldn't accept myself for who I was. I used to walk with my head down all the time, and a lot of people mentioned it to me actually, how down I looked, literally just looking at the floor all the time. Because I couldn't look at people. I always thought that they were thinking what I was thinking and that they were judging me and that they thought exactly as I was thinking. And the way I saw myself, I thought that that's exactly how they saw me, in such a negative light. I was invited to the church first, and obviously when I came here, for a good few years, I was very closed up, so I didn't want to speak to anybody, to be honest, because I always thought, I thought people were still judging me and thought, that they would think, what is wrong with this girl? What is her problem? I don't understand. But as time went on, I started to open up. I started to talk, more about what was going on inside. I started to dig a bit deeper, and tell people, what the problems were. And that really helped me overcome, my low self-esteem. It helped me develop in my confidence levels. It really helped me, I was able to put my head high. I took part in a purpose of faith, and it really helped me overcome, this issue that I was dealing with, because I was able to pour everything out. Everything that had been buried inside, I was able to let go of. And at the end of it, I just felt so relieved, it was just joy and peace after, because when you have things inside of you and you feel like you can't talk to anybody, or you feel like you can't open up about it, and you finally do, it's amazing, honestly. So today, I'm confident, I love who I see in the mirror, and I'm just loving me.
Hello, a very good evening and welcome to Finding Answers. Although we are free to go anywhere we want, we have this privilege, especially here in the UK. You can go anywhere you want, right? Anywhere in the country, in the city. We are free, and this is a great privilege. However, you can be free and feel imprisoned. You can feel imprisoned in many, many ways. And I'll be talking to you about this tonight. And I'll be explaining exactly what this means. First of all, here's a video that Victoria prepared for us on Victoria's Corner. We'll come back in just a moment to talk about tonight's topic.
A spiritual problem, unfulfilled vow, a grudge, an accusation, a wrong decision, a hidden sin. There could be hundreds of reasons why people feel imprisoned in their life. Many people feel trapped in several different aspects of their life. Other reasons could be due to an addiction, a fear to leave the house, an abusive partner, or a lack of money. People generally feel unhappy with their lives, even if they have the basic needs that are being met. But some people appear to have everything, but just want more and more. The difference is seeing your world as an arena or seeing your world as a prison. If you attempt to have success in your life in order to bring you happiness, then people can become trapped. You may feel overwhelmed with your responsibilities. A shocking 26 million people in the UK are living on the breadline and are struggling to make ends meet. 52% of people cannot pay their bills. In a survey of 5,000 people, it was found that there is a general feeling that people worry about their ability to make it to the next payday. People who feel that they have no time or money may also believe that they are trapped and unable to make changes in their life. People may view their life as a prison. For others who appear to have everything, these wealthy people may be judging their success in their life through the size of their home. Luxurious cars, exotic holidays, or just anything that could make others look on in envy. This then develops a vicious cycle that feels impossible to break. Maybe you feel trapped or imprisoned in your life. If you would like to talk to one of our advisors, then call Finding Answers on 020 7686 6300 or send us an email at help@findinganswers.tv. Alternatively, if you would like to talk to us via social media, then send us a tweet. Just start your tweet with @FindAnswersTV or search for Finding Answers on Facebook.
It's a very interesting paradox how people can feel so imprisoned even though they are free. And that's a common feeling. I mean, how many people feel imprisoned in a relationship where abuse has become the norm? How many feel imprisoned in a relationship where even though there may not be abuse, the relationship is not progressing, they don't feel like they can quit their relationship? Someone was telling me today that in spite of seeing his mom being beaten in a relationship, and when I say beaten, this young man was telling me that he saw his stepdad smashing a table, a wooden table, with his mom's head. Imagine how terrible that is. And yet I was asking him, why? Why didn't your mom leave? Take you and your brother and leave? And he was saying, look, if we had left, we had nowhere to go. We lived, really in misery. We were imprisoned in this family, so-called family, that was being abused. How many people feel imprisoned in a job that is not going anywhere, in a dead-end job? Others, because they've had a business, the business closed down or is about to close down, they have dozens of thousands of pounds of debt, and they feel like they have a sentence, a death sentence hanging over their head. Perhaps these words are indeed too strong to use, a death sentence, but that's how some people perhaps feel. And I want to go and talk to Victoria. Good evening, Victoria.
Good evening.
It's very interesting to think that people can feel imprisoned when we live in an amazing country where we have freedom to do anything we want. I mean, we don't have to worry about freedom of speech or any of these things, and yet some people feel sometimes like they're in a prison.
Some people will put up these huge psychological barriers, and people can always just walk away. There is somewhere you can go all the time. Nobody really should be homeless in this country. We do have emergency services that will deal with, for example, women and families fleeing an abusive partner. You will never be left on your own to sleep on the streets. But people put up these huge barriers because they really truly don't believe that they can leave, but they can. Even if there's money problems, there will be somebody out there to help you.
And I remember, I was just thinking as we were talking about tonight's topic, the other side of feeling imprisoned. I remember how Nelson Mandela, even though he spent so many years in prison, there, in his mind, he was free. Because he studied, he got educated while in prison. His body was imprisoned, but his mind was free. And many times there are people who are the opposite. Their bodies are free, but their minds are imprisoned.
Yeah, and I do think it's quite common. People just, maybe they force themselves not to see the way out because they think it's a lot of effort, or they're worried it's not going to work. But if you don't try, you'll never know. But yeah, people can physically just walk away from somewhere, but psychologically they just won't allow themselves
And
to.
what do you think is worse? The person being imprisoned in their mind and within themselves, or physically?
Definitely in the mind. The mind is a very, very powerful machine.
And it's interesting because, just for you to, if you're watching me now, for you to know, I arrived here in the studio. I usually get here in the studio half an hour before we start the live program. And I arrived here 5 minutes before we started the live program tonight. I just came from visiting someone who's in like a prison setting. And this person's been there for a long time. And when I went in and saw this person, I tell you, you're not going to find many people who smile as this person does. She actually smiles a lot more than I do. And she was saying, look, Pastor, I'm not worried because I'm here, but I know that God is with me. I know that He's looking after me. And perhaps you're already judging this person because she's in this prison setting, but you don't have to judge her. She's not there because she's done something terribly wrong. I mean, she's there for a reason, but inside of her, she's not imprisoned. She's there confined to a space, but inside of her, she's not imprisoned. And maybe you are. Maybe inside of you, if you want to leave your house right now, if you want to go outside and buy something or go and see a family member, maybe you can do that. But maybe you feel imprisoned inside of you. Maybe you say, I feel like, like these four walls are closing in on me and I don't know what to do anymore. If you are right now feeling imprisoned for any reason whatsoever, I want to tell you that we can help. We can help, we can pray for you, we can support you, and you can overcome this trouble. And just before I give you the telephone number for you to call in should you want to speak to our team, I just want to let you know that at the end of this program tonight, we're going to be doing something very special. Very, very special, very different. So I want you to stay where you are because at the end of the program, I'll be doing something very special here. Now, in the meantime, if you want to speak to someone who will help you, who will support you, who will pray for you, who will show you that there is a way out, the number to call is 020-7686-6300, 020-7686-6300, or help@findinganswers.tv. You can also contact us via Facebook and Twitter. Victoria?
If you'd like to send us a tweet, just start your tweet with @FindAnswersTV or search on Facebook for Finding Answers.
Let's go to a short break. We'll be right back.
Hi, the Chrissy B Show airs live on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, coming to your homes with entertainment, life issues as well as hard-hitting topics, coupled with friendly and practical advice. I love to look at the happier side of life and believe a person can achieve amazing things when they put their mind to it. The Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life.
When we want to reach our goals, we research, act, and make sure we know everything there is to know about that topic. We study hard because that is the intelligent thing to do. This is the same for our development as a Christian. The Faith School is designed for those who want a degree in spiritual growth, those who want to separate time to study the Holy Bible and follow God's path for their life. There is no admissions fee and it's suitable for every level of learner. You will learn how to interpret the Word of God for your daily life and become stronger internally. Do you want to find inner peace and spiritual strength? Then this course is for you. The Faith School, every Wednesday at your local UCKG Help Centre. For more information, call 020-7686-6000 or visit our website uckg.org.
want to go back and talk to Victoria for a second. Victoria, what are the psychological pressures of someone who feels imprisoned because of whatever problem they're going through?
So people who feel imprisoned will feel very low self-esteem because, I mean, they might know that they can leave, but they know that they don't have the strength to do so. So they may have self-doubt, hopelessness, helplessness, and what I mean by those things is that they don't feel able to help themselves. And that might just sound very trivial, but if you think about it, not feeling like you can help yourself in your own life can be very, very depressing, and you could slip into actual depression or anxiety.
We hear about people who don't feel confident or courageous enough to even leave their own house. They feel imprisoned in their own house. Am I right? That's called agoraphobia?
Yes, agoraphobia, yeah.
Wow, I got this one right, although I didn't get the pronunciation right. So that's someone who feels afraid of leaving their own home? Is that it?
Yeah, so there are a few ways of interpreting it. You can have people who don't like open spaces. That was the original understanding of agoraphobia, but now we know that it can be, an inability or a phobia of actually leaving their house.
Yeah, if you struggle with that, if you're imprisoned by this, if you suffer with panic attacks, if you suffer with agoraphobia,
Yep, okay.
whatever it is you suffer with, I want you to know that it is possible to overcome this. Okay? Now, before we go and meet tonight's real-life story who's here with us, here's someone who, through the power of faith, overcame her problems. Have a look.
I came from an alcoholic family. From my 4th birthday, I was given alcohol to drink and I got drunk. Every member of my family drank, so it was there from birth. As I got older, I didn't drink so much, but then I got married to an alcoholic. And when we got married, I was trying to keep up with him, drinking with him, going to the pub with him, and trying to stay sober while drunk. That's strange, but that's how it was. My life started going wrong after my marriage broke up. And the drinking got worse because I started having spiritual attacks. So I had to drink to forget. I had to drink to overcome the attacks I was getting. And even then, nothing worked. So I kept on drinking and drinking. I used to work for an alcohol rehab unit, a residential unit. And I used to go to work drunk. Even though the residents weren't supposed to drink. But I used to use things like perfume, I used to use strong mouthwashes and eat lots of mints to get rid of the smell of alcohol. So I was invited by one of my sons to come to a church, and when I came to this church, I was taught how to use my faith. I was given advice what to do. I took the advice and I used them to the best of my advantage. And I found that my life was getting better and better because I was being prayed for. I was praying, I was taught how to pray, and my life, bit by bit, started getting better, week after week, month after month. And all the problems I came with just disappeared, but the one that was really, really hard for me to do was to give up drinking, and I had to fight. I am free from alcohol. To tell you the truth, I don't even want to smell alcohol. It makes me feel a bit crazy. There was something there that was controlling me. And now I've got control of my life, and I do what I need to do to get my life better.
It's pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Just reminding you that at the end of this program, we'll be doing something very different and special. So please don't go anywhere, because not only will you be helped by tonight's real life story, but I'm sure that what we will do at the end will also help you. Now I have Louise sitting here next to me. How are you, Louise?
I'm good, very well, thank you.
Good? Louise, you've only been attending the church for just over a year. But it's fair to say that in that 1 year, your life has changed dramatically.
It really has.
Right? When did you start to feel imprisoned in your life? What happened?
I'd say from my adolescence, as I was a teenager in secondary school, I started feeling really imprisoned because I started seeing a lot of things that I didn't like, especially with the men in my family and also at school. So I developed grudges towards the opposite sex, towards men. And that really affected me for a very long time.
When you say that you saw things you didn't like, what do you mean? What happened?
I saw abuse from men, verbal, physical, emotional abuse. Whilst I was in secondary school, I got bullied by guys, by men. And also I saw many relationships that were very abusive around me. I saw a lot of men who cheated on many of my friends, many of my relatives. And so this stigma of men developed.
I mean, did you go into relationships yourself later?
I did.
So if you had this perception of men, why did you go into relationships? Was it like a natural progression, or even though you started relationships, you had this in the back of your mind that men were cheaters or abusers?
I always hoped that my situation would be different. I kind of didn't want to judge all men as much as I did inside. I kind of always thought, oh, maybe this person would be different. Maybe he would be different. But it wasn't always the case. In fact, hardly ever was the case.
What was your history, your relationship history like?
Well, I was in one relationship for a good 3 years, on and off, but we was always very emotionally connected. And this relationship I thought was going to be different. I committed myself to him physically, emotionally. A lot of my time and energy went to this person. And unfortunately, there was a lot of lack of trust in the relationship. And he did betray me in a very big way.
So why the lack of trust?
For me, it was very difficult to open up for many reasons. I had a lack of confidence, and also within my family, especially me and my relationship with my brother was horrific. We did not get along at all, and there were a lot of things that went on in the family that built a bridge between me and my brother. So when it came to opening up and, you know, speaking honestly about how I felt about situations, it was very difficult because I always got told to be quiet, I always got pushed to the side, and my opinions were never relevant.
So this person that you decided to trust and to give yourself to, it must have been difficult for you because you didn't trust men and you chose to trust that one.
I did.
And your worst fear actually happened.
Did.
He cheated on you.
Yes.
How did you find out about that?
It was kind of a strange, because I knew that something was wrong. His attitudes, his persona had changed towards me. And I saw that this person that he was involved with was one of my very close friends.
And what did that do to you, knowing that he cheated on you with a close friend of yours?
For me, it just destroyed all hope that I had. Whether it was very little, it destroyed everything that I had.
Is that what made you feel imprisoned?
Yes, I think it was the tip of the iceberg. It just started everything off.
So once that happened, what changed in you in terms of who you were inside and your life around you?
For me, I always tried to be open with people. I always tried to give my opinion, whether I felt I was being heard or not. But after that situation, for me, I became totally closed. I would not give my opinion. I would not speak out. The little confidence that I had was totally gone. It totally left me. So, and also, my eyes towards men was just completely wrong. I ended up, in a way, taking male characteristics and using it against them. So all the femininity that I had inside me, I let go of it.
So what changed in you? What changed in your approach to life and how you started to live your life after that?
I became very hard on myself and very militant, and also proud as well. I didn't want to accept any advice from anyone because that trust wasn't there. I wasn't open to trusting anyone, so it was my way or the highway. And that's something that it affected my work. It affected how I were with the other relationships that I had with my friends, with my family as well.
Did you try other relationships after that one broke down?
I did try other relationships, but it was a lot more casual. I became very promiscuous because that trust wasn't there. And even though deep down, I really hoped that, you know, maybe someone would come and change that situation. But then because of that blockage, because of that wall that I put up, I kind of attracted what I didn't want.
So it's interesting that, and maybe Victoria can help us with this, but it's interesting that you became promiscuous. You didn't take any relationship serious, not because you didn't want a serious relationship. It was like you didn't take things serious so that you wouldn't be hurt.
Yes.
Because if you would take things serious and then you would be hurt, it's like you were setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly.
Is that what happened?
Exactly.
So if I go to Victoria now, Victoria, are there, in psychology, is there a reason for people doing that? For them, you know, for me to avoid being disappointed, I'm not going to get my hopes up, I'm just going to, you know, go with the flow and just meet people just because I won't commit, and that means I won't be cheated on because I'm not expecting anything serious out of this. Is that, a lot of people do that?
Yeah, I'd say that was one of the quite common defence mechanisms. So you don't really set your standards very high because you expect almost to be treated poorly. But it's also quite interesting what Louise said about taking on the masculine characteristics. I find that quite interesting. I've not heard that one before. But it seems quite of a what would I call it? Not a normal thing to do, but an interesting reaction, because you know the types of people that hurt you, so therefore you take on their characteristics, which you then think make you stronger, and then you can react the same to other people to maybe teach them a lesson or feel stronger yourself.
Even though what she said that she did, that, you know, she would just, you know, be with people just like that. I mean, let me just go back to you, Louise. So when you say, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
No,
but when you say you became very promiscuous, what do you mean? Would you just sleep around?
I was choosy.
Okay.
But for me, it was a case of sometimes, for example, I ended up going to a lot of clubs and a lot of raves. And so when I was in those environments, I had this mentality that if there was someone that I found attractive, that I was going to get that person. It was a way of me kind of determining that I still had a bit of power and a bit of control.
So it's like you had standards before, then when you were disappointed, all the standards went out of the window. And it's actually, you had no control. You thought you had control, but you had no control, right? And I think some people think that if they do things slightly different, then that's a solution, but that was not a solution for her. That didn't make her any happier. So what should people do if they've been disappointed? On a psychological point of view, should they lower their standards? Should they try again? What's your advice as a psychologist?
I think certainly when it comes to relationships, the biggest thing is to almost certainly not rush into anything. People seem to feel embarrassed almost that people have done this to them, so they rush out straight away to try and regain this control. Maybe they do lower their standards because they just want maybe a certain feeling over and over again to get rid of anything, any kind of embarrassment or hurt that they've previously felt. So to be honest, you just need to regroup with yourself. Think about what you want out of life, and maybe talk to somebody about the things that you're feeling. And you really do need to understand that not everybody is the same as what you've experienced.
And also, you know, the feeling of being cheated on is like the feeling of rejection. And when a person starts going out and sleeping around, it's like they're looking for a feeling of acceptance, because someone chooses you and accepts you and wants you at least for a day or a week, so you feel accepted for that moment, but it didn't actually solve your problem. And that's where the imprisonment comes, because even though you may think, or Louise might have thought, now I'm really free because I can go around and do what I want, actually, so she was a prisoner you, Louise, you were a prisoner of that bad experience you had before. You were not free. Actually, in being physically more free, you were becoming more imprisoned by what had happened to you. Is that a fair comment?
It's a very fair comment.
And if you say, look, James, I know exactly what that means. I know exactly what it means to feel imprisoned by something that happened in the past. Someone who cheated on you, someone who you put all your trust on them and then they show you the door. You know, your whole world comes crashing down because of what the person did to you. I know exactly what that is. And I don't want to feel like that anymore. Because actually Louise is now free from that. And you can be as well. If you want help in doing this, in achieving freedom, then the number to call is 020-7686-6300, 020-7686-6300, or send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. I will not be giving out this number anymore until the end of the program, and you'll see why, because this has something to do with what I said we'll be doing here at the end of the program tonight. We're going to go into a short break. When we come back, we'll hear Louise telling us how her life, her story turned around. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a Christian, and this is my story. Growing up, I never missed going to church. And when I was 12, I accepted Christ as my Savior. I was even baptized. It undoubtedly was a very important decision. It even affected how I lived in high school. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had fun on the weekends. I had a girlfriend, a couple, but I was a normal high school kid. College was one big blur, but I did make it to church out of obedience. And after school, I married a great girl, and she's been a great influence on me. Life's been good. I have a house, 3 kids. I couldn't ask for more. I mean, sure, I worry about my future. I mean, my marriage, it could be better, and I need to spend more time with my kids, but things will be all right. I have my faith. You may not hear me talk about it a lot, but it's just because it's personal. But don't worry for me. My Jesus is real.
The UCKG Helpline Call Centre is open 24 hours a day, every day of the week, all year round. If you need help due to a serious problem you may be going through, if you feel that you have nowhere to turn to and desperately need someone to lend a listening ear, then we can help you. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have done, your religion or race, your call will be answered by someone who genuinely cares about you and has your best interests at heart. We also arrange home visits for the housebound and hospital visits for anyone in great need of kindly human contact. Whether it is simply information you want or desperately need someone to talk to, we're here for you on 0207 686 6000.
Welcome back. So you've heard a very interesting side to Louise's story, a side that perhaps you identify with yourself in your own life. Now, Louise, we heard that you were in a very dark place in your life, right? That must have been, how did you feel at that point where you let go of all the things you believed in, your standards. Did that feel like a dark place?
It was a very dark place. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because the things that I were doing, temporarily they were, helping me to forget the pain that was inside me and all these grudges that I had inside. But I lost all sense of, confidence. I've started to feel really cheap as well because I was giving myself away. And deep down, that's not what I wanted, but that's how it happened.
Right. How did you find out about the church? How did you come to the church?
Well, one of my friends that I met through work, I was working with her, and we was literally having a passing conversation. And she said to me, she was like, Louise, that would look amazing on you. There was an outfit that a woman was wearing. And for some reason, I just said to her, I don't have the confidence to wear that. And from then, she just knew, she could see that there was something inside me that was not right. And so that's when she invited me along.
So it's amazing that, doing all these things you were doing, one would have thought you needed a lot of confidence to do what you were doing, right? But actually you were doing those things because you had no confidence, right? So she invited you to come to the church, a work colleague. When you started coming, what was the process like of you being free from all those negative ideas and thoughts you had about men?
The process was very hard because I knew that in order for me to be really free, I had to confront all the grudges that I was holding inside. And I had to deal with the situations in regards to the relationship that I had with this man. Because we were still talking, still up to this point, we were still having communication. And I knew that I wanted to forgive him and I wanted to forgive my friend.
And let me just stop you there, because you saying you wanted to forgive him does not mean you wanted to go back to him.
Yeah.
These are two different things. Forgiving someone and going back to the person are two different things. You can forgive and not go back to the person, right?
Exactly. And parts of me, I will be honest, was contemplating going back to him. But I just knew that no, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this properly. I'm going to do this correct. And even though for a while that I thought I forgave him, I thought I did, but any situation that arose or conversation that came up, I would end up talking bad about him. So I knew that I hadn't forgiven him completely. And this is where I had, and also not even just him, but the men in my family, my brother, the situations that I'd faced in the past with him. I knew that I had to confront him and I had to forgive him. Yeah.
What about the issues you had within yourself, your lack of confidence and how you saw yourself? How did you change that? How difficult was it?
I will be honest, it was extremely difficult, because this was a long period of time of where these lack of confidence and all these things were happening. So for me to really change that, it took a lot of effort. And I will be honest that in forgiving, it really did help me to make that step and to make that change, to help me better myself. Because I had to think to myself, I'm not perfect, and there are probably people that I've done wrong against as well. And I knew as much as I had to forgive, I had to ask for forgiveness as well. And that was something that really did help me to make a change in myself.
Right. So what role did you coming to church and the prayers and the support you got there, what role did it play in getting your confidence back? And I wouldn't even say getting your confidence back, because even when you were in that relationship, you said you had little confidence, and the little confidence you had disappeared when you were cheated on. So what role did it play in you getting confidence, the confidence you never had, and forgiving, moving on?
Well, going to the church really encouraged me to look deep inside myself, to really get to the roots of where my confidence was lost, not just through these situations, but from the beginning. Why could I not open up? Why could I not speak my mind? Why could I not feel confident in wearing certain clothes? Why did I not see myself as other women that I, looked up to and were inspiration to me? So that's one thing that the church really did help me to do, and to look deep. And also to just start challenging myself, to start doing things that I wouldn't necessarily do. And that really helped.
Who is Louise today?
Louise is a totally transformed person with a lot of confidence, and it's funny because a lot of friends, a lot of family have seen this change in me, and they've seen the sacrifices that I have made to get to where I am, and I'm still working. There's a lot more for me to improve on, but
You've only been attending the church for just over a year, but what a difference a year can make, right? And you are now in your final year in, what are you studying?
Fine arts, so I do
Fine
painting.
arts,
yes.
painting. So we're going to have a very famous painter. Look out for this person, because great things are coming, right?
Yes, indeed.
Louise, thank you very much for being
Thank you.
on the program. Now, after the break, I'm going to tell you what we are going to be doing at the end of this program. We always end this program 5 minutes to midnight, never at midnight sharp, because of, technical reasons here, things that have to happen in the studio. And I'll tell you what I will be doing tonight in those last 5 minutes prior to midnight. So what I want you to do is to stay where you are. I'll be right back and we'll be talking about this. In fact, Pastor Edward, who is from one of our churches here in North London, will be talking to us about this prayer, this special prayer we'll be making now at the end of the program. We'll be right back.
How can you rebuild the shreds of a shattered past? Let us help you. If you're a single mother suffering from a troubled past, then don't lose hope. There's always someone you can turn to. We understand. With all the challenges of everyday life, the financial responsibility, and the pressure of being a single parent, life can be overwhelming at times. Single parents and their children can flourish, but without the right support, a family can fall apart. The Tamar Group is there for lone parents who need guidance, support and encouragement to get them through their everyday battles. Whether it's a group discussion, a mother and child bonding session or some personal advice, we are here for you. Everyone needs a helping hand at one point or another. Let us be yours. For more information on our meetings and where the nearest Tamar Group is to you, then visit our website uckg.org/Tamar or give us a call on 020 7686 6000.
Welcome back. So here's what I want to do. Tonight, I'm not going to be making the prayer for you. Pastor Edward, who's here with me, will be making the prayer. And in the last 5 minutes prior to midnight, I will be sitting by our phones to take your call. James, okay, but you have pastors there answering the calls. Yes, we have. But here's what I want to do. Perhaps today you've received some bad news and you're worried about it, or maybe some rumors of bad news. Sometimes there's that news that goes around that, you know, your company that you work for is downsizing, and you know some people are losing their jobs. Perhaps you're worried that you're going to lose your job. Perhaps you've heard some rumors that there is a chance that your partner might be seeing someone else, and you're worried that this might be true. Perhaps you've had some bad news about your health, the health of your family. And when we get bad news, Pastor Edward, whether it's something that, by the way, good evening, Pastor Edward, whether it's some bad news of something that has happened or that may happen. For example, a doctor says, listen, there is a chance that you have cancer. There is a chance you have this problem. It takes away the peace the person has. It can be very, very daunting for a person to deal with something like that.
Absolutely, and especially I think one of the worst feelings is the feeling of helplessness.
Yes.
That you, at this time of night, you can't go to work, you can't talk to your boss, maybe at a hospital, maybe someone watching us from a hospital and seeing the loved one lying down there and the machines there beeping you can't do a thing. You hate the fact that, you know, you would love to change the situation, but you're powerless right now, can't do much, but actually we can. And I believe that this prayer and the fact that after the prayer people can call us can make a big difference in their situation.
You were talking about the feeling of helplessness. And I mean, I gave you the example a few moments ago that I just went to see someone in a prison setting. And a couple of days ago I went to a hospital and I saw a family there who had received terrible news about one of their family members. And they couldn't do anything about it. They're now completely 100% in the doctor's hands, but even the doctors are not sure if they can help the family member. And that's exactly the feeling you said, the feeling of helplessness when you get certain bad news that it's out of your hands to do something about that. I mean, who do you turn to? Where do you turn to when something like that happens?
Yeah, and the thing is that, you know, it's important to understand in a case like this, we need help. There are certain situations that we can't handle just on our own. Mm-hmm. Maybe people watching us right now that they believe that they reach the limit of their strength and still there's no answer. So we need the help of a higher power. We need God's help. We believe in this and we believe that the power of prayer can make a difference right now. So that's why we're doing this.
Absolutely. Now, please, I do not want you to call during the prayer. During the prayer, you focus on the prayer. Actually, I'd like you to prepare a glass with water if you can. We are going to pray for God to bless this water, to consecrate this water, so that when you drink of it, you'll receive healing, you'll receive direction. Perhaps you have no direction in life, you'll receive strength to change your life. So it's important, if you can right now, prepare the water for the moment of prayer. But when the moment of prayer is over, I will be standing by the phones just for 5 minutes. James, why not longer? Because afterwards, you know, if we've had a problem of 1 hour, it's either now or never. But if you say, James, I am that person that today I've received some very bad news, or recently some very worrying news, and I want help, then count on us. I'll be there ready for to speak to you if that's what you need, okay? So stay now ready for the moment of prayer. Pastor Edward is going to pray with you now, and I will be there ready by the phones in just a minute. Let's talk to God right now.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like a prayer for your general well-being, send your name and prayer request to prayer@findinganswers.tv.
My God, right now, I know that if my voice reaches the place where this person is hearing me now, or watching me now, so can your presence. Much more can your presence come into this place and touch this person that is going through a situation right now that only he or she can understand what they're feeling. A feeling of helplessness, feeling of frustration, or loneliness, or the heartbreak of a broken relationship, of losing a loved one. I don't know what is happening, but I know, God, that there are people suffering now. There are people crying. There are people desperate. And especially those who at this moment are awake, maybe just flipping through the channels. They found our program because they don't know what else to do. They don't know if they stay home. They don't know if they go out and wander in the streets, and they know that even doing this is not going to bring any solution to them. But I know that you are a God of solutions. You are a God of answers. I believe that you are a living God, so I'm asking you in this moment, touch this man, this woman who is praying with me right now, praying with us. This person who don't know what to do, but you can make a change. Do what I cannot do. I'm calling out to you now, God, for you to do what I cannot do, what a doctor cannot do, what a judge cannot do, what an authority can't do, what only you can do is what I ask you, that you may lift this person up. I'm asking you to bless this glass of water, that the moment this person drinks this water by faith, we're using this as an element, a point of contact with your power. They're going to be drinking a dose of your power, a dose of your hope, because your word talks about peace that surpasses all understanding. In a moment where this person, physically speaking, should not have peace, give them peace. I pray and I thank you because I believe that you have answered our prayer. So I thank you, God. And those who agree with this prayer can say amen and drink this glass with water with faith now. Very good. We are coming to the end of the program, and you can start calling right now. Pastor James is ready at the lines, ready to take your call. If you are this person who received bad news, I want you to believe that you have been touched by God's power. But at the same time, please do call us. Do speak to someone. Don't just harbor it in. Just don't bottle this up inside you. Talk to us, okay? 020-7686-6300. By the way, before the end, I just want to remind you that in tomorrow's Finding Answer, we're going to be talking about the question, is it harder to be a man or to be a woman? What's your opinion? We're going to have in tomorrow's show a successful man here that's going to talk about his path to success, and also a successful lady. And both of them are going to speak about their challenges, difficulties, achievements, and this is the topic for tomorrow's Finding Answer. What it's harder to be, a man or a woman, in your opinion. So tune in at the same time, same channel. Good night.